what is the difference between past life regression and soul retrievals? I had somebody ask me this the other day, and I was like, oh, that's a great question. There is a woman named Dolores Cannon. A lot of us know who she is. She is a spiritual mentor pioneer. And there's another gentleman named Edgar Casey, and he is considered the father of the Akashic Records. He did not create them, however, he popularized them in the collective consciousness. What both of them were doing were taking people on past life regressions, amongst other things that they did, but that was a main part of their energy share with the collective. They would put people under hypnosis and go within their subconscious and within their Akashic records, and they would have the person relaying to them past life experiences. Okay, I say past life because when we say past life, sometimes that's putting us in a box. Time's not linear, so they're not really necessarily in the past. Okay. But for the context, we will say past lives. But they will tell them about something that has happened in a different incarnation. And there's a multitude of ways that this can be beneficial. You can learn through different karmic lessons, or it can give you a deeper understanding of self, of why you're experiencing something in this incarnation, or maybe that you can heal during this one as well. Now, soul fragment healing or soul retrievals is a little bit different, okay? This is when you are going into somebody's timelines through their astral fields and their Akashic records, and you are actually speaking to one of their different incarnations or their inner children in real time. You are timeline jumping, okay? When I'm doing inner child healing sessions with people, I have two different types. The first one is where you and I are speaking about things that are happening in your life that are non-preferable. Behavioral patterns, triggers, just generally why we are stuck. I am speaking to your adult consciousness because we have not necessarily reached the depth level within self yet to speak directly to your inner child about something, because consciousness works in layers. And it's easier to start where you're at sometimes and work backwards. Now, if I am speaking to somebody who has done inner child work thus far, I will take that person into meditation, into their heart space, and me and the client and their inner child, one of their inner children, we have many within us, okay? One of their inner children, we will all be speaking in a conversation with one another in real time. People are often very shocked the first time they do that because they're like, oh, I actually understand that they are completely different consciousness from me now. They have their own personality, their own thoughts. They interpreted things so differently than I am seeing them right now. And I can actually feel all of that trauma energy, that it is mine, but it's kind of separate from me. And you can actually feel it come up out of your body differently as an adult and as a child. And that is where we are able to heal things at a very deep root level on more of a permanent basis, okay? That is actually how I taught myself to connect with my own different incarnations and other people's as well. Your inner children technically are a different version of you, a different incarnation, a different timeline. They have their own chapter, okay, in the ethers. And if you can learn how to portal jump yourself there to speak with them, oh my gosh, it's so easy to speak with different incarnations. You're teaching yourself the fundamental tools to be able to connect with multidimensional facets of yourself through connecting with your inner children. So very similarly, when I am going to speak with somebody's different incarnation, it's not me getting their story and then telling a client about it. I can do that, and that's very beneficial. There's no better or less than, okay? Just different things for different reasons. What I typically do is go in and help that incarnation in real time heal through something. or I am asking them to come through as a mentor for my client in this incarnation to help them with a spiritual gift or a healing of some sort. So I'm going to give an example of this. I gave a spiritual activation the other day, and I met with 2 different versions of my client. Real positive, fun experiences, help her with her spiritual gifts. Then we took a little bit of a shift, and I all of a sudden was in, and before I get into this, okay, I want to say that this might be triggering for anybody that has experienced abuse in some type of way. So use your intuition, your discernment. Maybe we need to bookmark this or save this and come back to it later when we're in a good mental space. So I do want to say that before we get into it, okay, because it is a little bit triggering. When I went in, I was laying on this piece of wood, and I was shackled to my arms and my feet, and I was in like a full-blown panic, and I was trying to like get up and escape out. I realized in that moment, sometimes when I go in to do soul retrievals, I'm POVing in that person's experience, so I can snap into that timeline really fast. So I stepped outside of this person who was a different incarnation of my client, and I saw her on the table, and I saw these men who were all standing in a circle, and they were trying to brand her. And I looked at her and I said, "What is going on?" And she said, I need to get out. I need to escape. And I said, "Is it okay if I take you from here?" And I asked her permission, okay, because I'm going to come back to that in a second. I asked her permission, and she said yes. So I snapped her back to a beach, and she had never seen the ocean before. She was from a time and place where she was living like deep in the woods or the forest somewhere way away from a ocean source, and she was like, "What is this?" I was explaining it to her, and I said, "What exactly happened in your timeline?" And she said that those men had come in and burnt down the whole entire village, and all the men, and taken all the women and the children, and they were going to brand them because they were going to be enslaved for this tribe of men or whatever. And I said, "Oh, where are the women and the children right now?" And she said, "They're still there." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to go back. You stay here." So I went back, and my client's energy body was with me, and I had something almost kind of like take over one of my multidimensional facets, and I turned into a sorceress archetype, and I got really big, and I had these wings that spread outside of me. And I said, "I don't know what y'all are doing here, but it's not going to be on my watch." Okay, I said, "You need to bring me the women and the children right now." And they were a little bit reluctant about that, so I actually turned into this massive, grotesque, like animalistic version of myself, and like very intimidating energy. And they said, "Okay, we will go get them." So they brought them forward. I asked their permission if they wanted to go, and they said yes. And I was explaining to them on the island that they are not bound to this time and place. It's somewhere that they can heal, that they can repair. If they want to go back to their timeline, they can do that. If they want to go to a different dimensional space out in the ethers, they can do that. On my cosmic journeys, I have found these places that are for refugees, etheric refugees, where different cosmic beings can go to if they are displaced from their home because of war or, various other types of abuse, and that they are welcomed into those spaces. I said those places are also available if you would like. And it was really funny when I was speaking with them, because they were from a time and place where they didn't really have electricity or showers or things of that nature. And I had built each of the individual families a house of their own. But I told them, I said, "You can architect anything that you want in here that is going to be beneficial for you and the families. If you all want to live in a big mansion as one, that's okay too. You can change that in here. It has all the food that you want, all the water that you want, but it is a place where only y'all are." Because I wanted them to feel safe, that there weren't random people showing up in there. Okay, it is a etheric holding place. I have also built one within me for different timelines that I have come across where maybe the client doesn't have the skill set yet in order to be able to help with that level of timeline healing. They are welcome to stay in my spaces. Either I will help them, or whenever it's time for the client to come in and help them or take them back to their timeline or a different timeline. I remember what I was going to say. The houses that I took them to had electricity and air conditioning and all these things. I was like, oh, y'all are going to be in for a super fun surprise. You're going to absolutely love it. Okay. So I wanted to share this as an example of what soul fragment healing or soul retrievals can look like, and how it differs from past life regression. Now, when I say past life regression, that does not fully encapsulate all that past life regression does. Like, yes, usually it is a reciting of that incarnation story, and you're not necessarily doing real-time healing work. That's not representative of all, though. Some past life regressionists do the real-time work. If you would like to learn about this further and actually train in the path of soul retrieval, soul fragment healing, either for your own life or to be able to do this with others, you can check out my program. It's called the Akashic Shaman. It will help you start on that path in the way of soul retrievals. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them in the comments. Remember to give a follow, and I hope you have a super magical day.